Welcome to this Corvic AI demo. In this walkthrough, I'll show how Corvic can automate an end-to-end accounts payable workflow, from receiving vendor invoices by email to extracting invoice data, validating it, escalating exceptions, cost-coding approved invoices, and pushing the final result into an accounting system. This is a common workflow for accounting and finance teams. Every month, companies receive invoices from subcontractors and service providers in different formats. Some are clean PDFs, some are scanned documents. Some are missing information. Others may contain calculation errors or mismatches against expected totals. Today, this process is often manual. An AP specialist needs to open each email, download the invoice, read the document, extract header and line item details, validate the numbers, check vendor information, apply cost coding, and then re-enter the approved data into an ERP or accounting system. That takes time, creates delays, and introduces the risk of human error. With Corvic, we can turn that manual process into an AI-powered workflow. We'll start inside a Corvic data room. A data room is where we connect the systems, documents, agents, and workflows needed for a specific business process. In this example, I'm using a finance-focused data room for accounts payable. This data room is already connected to a few external systems. First, it is connected to QuickBooks, so approved invoices can be pushed into the accounting system. Second, it is connected to an email inbox where vendor invoices are received. Third, it is connected to an ERP or vendor data source, so Corvic can check vendor status, reconcile vendor information, and retrieve IDs needed for downstream posting. Now we'll work with an agent that has access to these systems and can help build the invoice intelligence workflow. The first step is to ask the agent to check the invoice inbox. I'll ask Corvic to connect to the demo inbox, find emails with invoice attachments, download the PDF invoices, and read them. Corvic identifies the right email API, fetches the relevant messages, downloads the attachments, and extracts the invoice content. In this example, the agent finds two invoices. One invoice is from Green Cycle Waste Services. The second invoice is from EcoServe Environmental Solutions. The invoices are different formats, and one uses a different currency. This is important because real-world invoices rarely arrive in one clean, standardized format. Next, we ask Corvic to turn the invoices into structured data. Instead of just summarizing the invoices, we ask the agent to extract the invoice headers and line items into a table. This includes information such as vendor name, invoice number, invoice date, line item descriptions, quantities, amounts, taxes, totals, and any other fields needed for accounting review. Corvic now creates a structured table across both invoices. This is one of the key differences between Corvic and a basic document chatbot. We are not just asking questions about a PDF. We are transforming messy invoice documents into structured financial data that can be validated and used downstream. Now that we have the extracted data, the next step is validation. I'll ask Corvic to check whether the invoice numbers match, specifically whether the line items add up correctly to the invoice subtotal and total. If the invoice passes validation, we can continue processing it. If it fails, Corvic should escalate it. In this demo, one invoice passes the validation check. The other invoice has a discrepancy. The sum of the line items does not match the subtotal shown on the invoice. The difference is significant, so Corvic flags it as an exception. Because this invoice should not be posted automatically, Corvic prepares an escalation email and sends it back through the connected mail system. The email includes the issue detected, the invoice details, the discrepancy amount, and recommended next steps. This is important because automation should not mean blindly pushing bad data into the accounting system. Corvic helps automate the process while still creating control points for review and exception handling. Now we continue with the approved invoice. For the invoice that passed validation, the next step is vendor matching. Before posting anything into QuickBooks, Corvic needs to identify the correct vendor record. So I asked the agent to check the QuickBooks data source and find the matching vendor ID. Corvic searches the connected accounting data, matches the vendor from the invoice, and retrieves the correct QuickBooks vendor identifier. This ensures the invoice is not only extracted correctly, but also linked to the right accounting record. Once the vendor is matched and the invoice has passed validation, Corvic asks whether we want to post the invoice into QuickBooks. I confirm that we should proceed and post it under Expenses. Corvic then connects to QuickBooks and pushes the validated invoice data into the accounting system. The invoice is posted successfully. When we open QuickBooks and refresh the page, we can see the new expense entry created for Green Cycle Waste Services. The invoice amount has also been normalized into the accounting system's currency. At this point, we have completed the full accounts payable process for the approved invoice. Email ingestion, PDF extraction, structured line item creation, validation, exception escalation, vendor matching, cost coding, and accounting system posting. Now, the final step is turning this successful interaction into a repeatable workflow. This is important because we do not want to rebuild this process every time a new invoice arrives. So I asked Corvic to convert the steps we just completed into a repeatable workflow that can be triggered whenever new invoices arrive. Corvic takes the agent interaction and converts it into a reusable workflow. The workflow includes each major step: fetch new invoice emails, download PDF attachments, extract invoice data, create structured tables, validate totals, escalate failed invoices, match approved vendors, and push approved invoices into QuickBooks. This workflow can now be run on demand or scheduled to run automatically when new invoice data comes in. In just a few minutes, we have gone from a manual AP process to a repeatable invoice intelligence workflow. The value is not just faster data entry. The value is creating a controlled, auditable, AI-powered process that helps finance teams reduce manual invoice review, catch errors before they enter the ERP, standardize vendor invoice data, escalate exceptions automatically, and push approved records into accounting systems. This is where Corvic goes beyond simple OCR or chatbot-based document review. Corvic helps turn messy financial documents into validated, system-ready accounting data. That completes the demo.